So good afternoon. I appreciate everyone taking this time out of your busy day. I know how Mondays are for us to discuss a few things about the Reengage program. With its newness, we know a lot of you have had several questions and we hope to answer those today. If we do not have the exact answer, I assure you I will find out and let everyone know, but I will not try to make something up. I will be sure to check it out and vet that response for you. I'm going to start at first just to take you through a few things, what we've decided to do. We have created a process paper for you that has just literally all words stepped through, as well as a flow chart. We also have a schedule of events I believe Arcola has given you, but we've had a revision to that. And then we also, which I want to start with first, is a memo that's very important for everyone to be sure to see. So I'm going to share screen. Okay. So first of all, I just want to, again, appreciate everyone asking the questions that you already have been asking. And this is one that came about with an institution asking a question about the disbursement of funds. And so this morning we discussed it all with Dr. Purcell, our executive director, and he has created an executive director's memo to be sent to all of you, but I want to go ahead and share it with you now. And I'll just read through. This memo serves as a clarification to the following statement in 300-14-13-.07, Disbursement of Funds, Section 3 of the Administrative Code Procedures for the Reengage Alabama Grant Program, which was inadvertently included from language from a similar grant program administered by AIC. So this is one statement that was within that section. Effectively, immediately, this statement is no longer applicable and will be removed from the Administrative Code Procedures according to the appropriate amendment process, which does take a little time, but he has the right and the authority to do this. So we're doing this today, so there's no confusion. The statement was, should the dollar amount of the grant credited to an eligible student's account exceed the dollar amount due to the institution by the student at the time a Reengage Alabama grant is credited to an eligible student's account, a check in the amount of the excess funds credit shall be returned to the Reengage Alabama Grant Program. According to the law, which was Act number 2023-539, the Reengage Alabama Grant Program does not restrict payments of this grant to a student's account based on other scholarship or financial aid packages. Therefore, if the dollar amount of the grant credited to the eligible student's account exceeds the dollar amount due to the institution by the student at the time the Reengage Alabama grant is credited to the eligible student's account, the amount of the excess funds credit shall be given to the student by the institution. So where this came about was that someone had asked, a lot of you can't, the money is not received until the end of the semester. And so with that, the student has to make payment prior to receiving these funds. Some may be by personal payment, it may be financial aid, a loan, however it may be, but they had to pay it out of pocket, so to speak. So the money will come to the institution and you will know that they have already paid. You might have a zero balance, but they did have to pay a certain amount that was $3,000 or less, or $1,500, depending on your level and your situation of your student. That money will go to the student's account. We do not anticipate there to be a situation. It will be very infrequent for the situation to occur that the institutions will have to reimburse us at AIC. So does anyone have a question to this new bit of information before we proceed with the process? And for those of you that just stepped on to our meeting, to let you know, this is a memo that will be coming out today to you and it's effective today. To clarify a statement made, we inadvertently carried it over from another program. When you're merging things and through the paper process, we just inadvertently overlooked this piece, which is very important. Okay, no questions. Just want to be sure before I move forward on that part. Okay. Now, And I assure you, we will allow ample time for you to ask questions. And I may be giving you a lot of information to absorb in this brief moment, but we have taken step by step as best we can to provide you an approval process for you as an institution, because there are situations that may occur overall. So I'm going to now share with you a page, and you will be receiving this document as well, that we are calling the approval process for institutions. So here's the overall gist. You have already been given your SharePoint portal access, and you have at least 2 people who have access to that. It is a 2-factor authentication, and that is for the security of all the information. If you, for some reason, have someone else to come in and take the place of one of your contacts, we do ask that you reach out to us so that we can set them up an account, remove your other person, because we want to keep it at 2 minimum or at most. And we want to have that information for them as well. But you will only have access to your folder, no one else. You should have already found the award list signature page, your institutional roster, and the student application templates in your institution's folder. So then you are to download that information. You are to collect the information that you need, and we do ask that when you upload it, that you take the students' applications and make them into one PDF as a zip file, perhaps because of the size, and then your institutional roster, which is an Excel spreadsheet, and your award list, you may scan it or however you may handle that document. And if you have any questions, of course, you always are free to ask Arcola about that format. But we are defining names of these files because there are so many institutions and we have a possibility of different communications. So we're trying to clarify, and I have it also listed on another sheet you'll shortly see to be a little more specific. But this is an example of when you first upload it, we ask that you, at the end of the name of your institutional roster or student applications, whatever it may be, to put your institution's name, of course, but also like this would be Spring 24 Original. So we know that's your first submission. Because once we receive that, AIC will then take all that information to check everything to see if there are any mistakes or if there are any duplications. Now, of course, this being the first semester, we do not anticipate duplications, but thereafter there may be, and I'll explain that in just a moment. First of all, errors found in the roster. If we at AIC, if Arcola reviews this and she sees there is a mistake, she will make note in the institutional roster, notify you through email of that mistake, that there is one, and will upload it back into the SharePoint portal with this notification at the end, which means to be corrected. We always want to keep the term, but it's to be corrected. Once you download it and make those corrections, you will upload it as the same term, but C, corrected. I know at first it's going to be like, oh, I got to keep up with all these names. I'm sure it's not as many as it may first seem to be. But if there are no mistakes, you're good. We still have the original, and that will be uploaded in the grant system. So once all errors are corrected, everyone's information will be uploaded into the grant system. And one question that has been asked, and Arcola will have a time to speak to, is that if you get finished with all of your information, you can go ahead and submit that in the portal. The earlier, the better, to give her time to review it and get everything processed so that you might potentially receive your funds earlier than later. So we do welcome that if you're wanting to be early with your information. The other situation that may occur after this first semester, a student, let's say, is at your institution this spring, but then they decide, well, I'm going to go to this other institution in the fall, and maybe they won't realize that I've already got this award. Well, in our system, when it's uploaded from your file, even though they've already enrolled at your institution, it is only at that point can we acknowledge and know that they're in our database as a priorly engaged recipient. And when that happens, you will be notified to say this student is now ineligible because they had already received the funding. And that is here in this duplication part right here. If they have a duplication, we have it just that we will give it to you with dupes. And when you correct it, you'll put dupe C. C is always for corrected. And once that's corrected, and the reason why we need you to correct it is because, you know, your money is all going to shift. If you have to remove someone for ineligibility, you would put them over in one of the tabs of stop out. And also that would change your money to be received for that semester. So we're trying to keep it as clean as we can before you actually get the check to avoid any back and forth of money, if that makes sense. Even though it's your money for your institution that's allocated, we don't want to have a back and forth situation. So I can't see everyone, so I'm going to take that off. Are there any questions off of that? I'm going to put that form approval in the chat. If I can get it in. Any questions? It's not wanting me to. I'll have to put it in a minute because some of my stuff is acting goofy today. All right. I'll have to get it over there in just a minute. Oh, I see what it's doing to everyone. Your silence is indicating everything's okay. Okay. So I did get in the chat. There's the re-engage approval process. All right. So another form for some of you who, like me, I'm more visual. Let me share. We also have a flow chart for you. And on the flow chart is where we have given you all the examples of the names of the files and the terms, spring, summer, fall, and if you're quarterly, it is winter. We already use those with our data file sharing, so hopefully it's something that you are accustomed to already. Any questions? I'm going to put that in there. Okay. Arcola, I'll let you, I'm going to share the change of the dates, schedule of events.
Okay.
So can you see that now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
So the revisions that were made to the schedule of events, mainly to the deadline date for the institutions to submit certified award list to 8. For under spring 2024, you see March. It was March, let's see.
18th, I think.
It was March the 18th, but now it's March the 28th. So you got a few more extra days to submit. And then for quarter schools, we only have one quarter school, the deadline date for the institution to submit to 8 changed to May the 28th as well. To May the 28th. And then instead of having a specific date for anticipated payments to be mailed to the institutions, we just decided to just process payment as we receive the award list. So that last statement that's highlighted in yellow under each semester is spring 2024 payments will be processed and mailed to institutions as award lists are received by 8 and state funds are available. And that goes for both semesters. And that's pretty much the only changes that were made to the scheduled events.
And I have added that to the chat as well. So we know you may have some more specific based questions if you would like to pose those.
I have a question. tangentially related to the rosters. The updated list of the high demand, high wage occupations. Where can we find that? We were kind of struggling to find that this morning on our campus.
The list that we provided for this specific grant or the overall ACCC?
Yes, for the reengage grant.
Yes, I will get that for you, Jeff. I have it
Okay.
as we're talking. Let me just remember to get that. And I will say, you know, this is based off of last year's. We're always a year behind with ACCCP. And pending on if we get more funding, you know, we may expand those SIPs. We took the highest 2 sectors, just so that you all know, because we know there has been a challenge with some of those areas as well. Now,
Yeah,
I will say in your roster, and be sure everyone please check, we specifically added the SIPs in your roster that we understand to be the ones of the SIP that your institution offers. So if you feel there is a SIP that is missing from the overall list, please let us know, because that would be us correcting your roster.
Okay, well, we'll take a second look at that list. We just want to make sure that the students who are coming back on the initial list are still enrolling in eligible programs.
Mm-hmm. And I will say that, you know, some students, if you have someone that was enrolled in a program that was similar but not the SIP, and they've chosen to go in one of those SIPs and still meet all the criteria, it's at the point of enrollment. So some, you know, if you have someone that's truly a new person to your institution, they may fall into one of those SIPs if they had been out 2 years before and it was a different SIP. Does that make sense? So keep that in mind as well. And I hate to be looking away. I'm looking for that form. Are there other questions while I'm looking? Thank you, Jeff. I know a lot of you have said it's been a challenge simply because they may owe the institution money, or they've met SAP and they don't have any other funding available. Are there any other challenges that we need to be aware of as we're approaching each semester to think of new ways to handle?
I think sometimes the age criteria too can be a barrier, because I know we had several, but they were not quite 25, you know, that potentially could have been part of that.
How old were they? Were they like 24?
One was 23.
Okay. And you know, the reason why we use that is just
Mhm.
simply that's typically the age. With
Right.
FAFSA and everything else too.
But, you know, just the
I get
potential
you.
of of
Yeah.
course, I mean, you know, you have to think about them being out for 2 years. They would have started as a high school student, and then
Mm-hmm.
depending on what age, you know, could have dropped out and then come right, you know, then come back, you know,
You're
2
right.
years later.
And I've written that down.
Also, I have a question, I've kind of was thinking about this as you were talking, but just had to think about it for a second longer.
Mhm.
But, you know, the files, when they're in SharePoint, are actually files that all of us could edit in our group. So, but we're still pulling that file down and then uploading it again. And then Arcola is then changing the name to be like TBC or whatever it was. I can't remember right off the bat.
Mhm.
But in that file, that SharePoint actually works much like a Google Drive or something. So I wonder if, you know, if we're adding people and taking them away, is it necessary to upload and download files? I mean, I know that's your process, will do whatever, but just thinking about it, because you can actually both, if you both have edit privileges in that
Mm.
SharePoint, then you can, it works like a Google Doc, kind of going
Understand.
back and forth. So,
That's a good point, Stephanie. Well, the intention was because of so many of you from our perspective, that if you download, so to speak, it's that you wouldn't upload until you are actually sure this is everyone you need. Otherwise, if you're constantly changing, we may pull it over and then you've added someone and then it's just us repeating the process unnecessarily. That's something that if you prefer to work with it while it's in the SharePoint, you could, if talk with Arcola, I mean, this is me, Arcola, you may want to address this, maybe that you want to just shoot an email and say, hey, Arcola, I'm finished. I don't know. Arcola, do you want to address that? Do you understand what she's saying? She can do all the work and editing within SharePoint, and you would not necessarily know when it's finished unless you name it as original in the term.
well, I was
Yeah.
thinking the file would be working copy for that file name, so to speak. And then when it's finished, you would copy it and name it something else in there, but just to say it's no longer the working copy, essentially. But I mean, I will certainly do it however you guys want to do it. I just got to thinking about the uploading and downloading when it could be, being worked on essentially simultaneously.
And that's probably coming from our portal that we currently have with our data files. It is purely upload, download, unlike SharePoint. And I'm glad you brought that thought across. As long as you have that final name, because I know that's what Arcola will be looking for. That's why we were being so specific with the file names.
Okay.
It was original.
All right. Thank you. Arcola, I'll get with you just to see if there may be something that would work,
Yeah, because
Figure it
I'm
out.
for it if it'll make the process easier,
Mhm.
I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this process as well. So
I
yeah.
think we all are.
Well,
Thank you.
it's kind of a catch-22. This spring, I know it's hard to find students, but it's a good time for all of us to go through this one semester with few students, better than a lot, so we can actually hammer out all the issues we may not have considered.
Certainly a great idea, to have a pilot, so to speak, for a small portion.
Okay, Dana, can section 17 under definitions be discussed? Okay. So let me pull. Section 17, I'm finding that. Is that, Dana, is that in the law or in our administrative code? Trying to make sure I'm looking at the right one.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hey.
Yeah, this is it was under the tentative certification of administrative rules. Marked tentative.
Okay, so that would be the administrative procedures,
Yeah.
Stephanie.
All right, so let me see. I'm gonna look. I don't want everyone having to look at me pulling this through until I find it.
It's on page 4. If that helps.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to figure out which one's mine. I don't think I pulled the one that has the number. All right, let me share and then you can see. Okay. You're referencing this page, this document?
Yes,
Is that it? The document?
Yes.
that one just doesn't say tentative, so I'm going to scroll down and see what you've
Or
got.
which page would that be, Arcola?
It was
Which-
on
It would
page
be
4
page
of
4.
mine.
I think the term is refunds is what she's wanting you to explain.
Well, yeah, the term is refund, but it has to do with the withdrawals. You're
There we
correct.
go. Oh, okay,
There it
yeah, I'm looking this way. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, that was my
Oh,
bad.
no, you're fine. I don't have page numbers and
Yeah,
I
no,
have
that's okay.
pages.
Okay. Ours came with page numbers.
Okay. All right, so your question.
My question may be moot at this point. because I'm hearing about where we'll receive the funds at the end of the term. And what I'm hearing is not awarding the students until we receive the funds at the end of the term. I guess my mind keeps thinking of the other state fund we work on where we award it, we pay it out, and we just wait for reimbursement.
Oh, well, and that may be an institution to institutional process.
Across the board, yeah. So when I look at this and I'm thinking, okay, we award it, but then the student ends withdrawing or drops down to half-time from full-time. So we're having to go back and pull that money. I'm just trying to define this. They're having to pull the money from the student's account because now they're not full-time, they're now half-time.
Well, I think with the way the timing is, hopefully by the time you actually submit it, of course, I know that they could still withdraw or change their course load. I'm trying to read through this.
Yeah,
I know our intention is that we do not want the institution to be out of any cost.
okay,
Keep that in mind.
okay,
Because you are putting in the work and effort, so we don't want you left with a debt. So if someone left out, at least it could be accounted to the institution on the behalf of that student. The grant exceeds amounts. Yeah, I think it's so that if the student withdrew and they're not eligible, everything was paid out. The money, we just don't want the money to not go to someone else. I'm trying, if this is all in a timing situation, Dana, this is really a good question. It's kind of like back where we were with the other part that we memoed.
it's almost making me go the direction of not awarding until the check is here, because then we're at of course, with this first term, it's gonna be late anyways, because, our term ends May 5th. But
Unless
I'm
you
not
get
sure what
in
direction we're
early.
gonna go.
Well, if you get it in early
Mm-hmm.
and our COLA, there's no error and she's able to process it, and accounting's able to go through the process with your institution's payment
Mm-hmm.
before that, because that's just deadlines that we're trying to say, at least
Right.
by here.
Mm-hmm.
You could possibly get it back, and then I know probably withdrawal dates when in April.
Well, actually, our withdrawal date is the last day of the term, last day of class.
Okay,
Yes, they can withdraw for the last day of class, not the term, but the last day of class.
okay.
So we don't have a.
Well, hopefully it would be that everyone gets, if the student paid, which they would have, if there's any excess, it would go to the student. If it's not, the institution, you would be paid. But the next semester, that student would be listed over as a stop out.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I know I'm probably not necessarily giving the exact answer, but it is so much case by case.
And I'll throw, okay, you answered, you gave me a good answer for my purposes and making our decision as to when we award. The other thing, we had, I'm gonna throw it since I've got you. There was the deadlines that were on here about, February 15th, and the fall is September 15th, and the summer is those other dates. Did I hear correctly in the last meeting we had last week that those deadlines for the application are more a suggestion? Or is that February 15th deadline for this term?
For your students. That's the deadline for your students, because we're giving you 30 days to process. Because if you can get everything done and turn around to us even before that 30 days, it's that much quicker you can turn around and get the money to give back to the students.
Okay. Oh, I understand that. I understand.
So
Yes.
it's really, because all of our color helped me on that one. I think you do look at the dates, do you not, of submission on the application?
Yes, because you have to stamp date the applications
Right.
as they are received. So yeah, we're
Right,
looking at
okay.
the dates.
Okay. It's just a matter of, we're having a little, I had a good number, and then all of a sudden, oops, no, you're not eligible. So my numbers have dropped.
Mhm.
So as far as if I were to allow, find additional students, but push that deadline from the 15th, say the February 20th, I'm trying to say, to give other students the opportunity that I find to
Mhm.
submit, so, okay. Thank you.
There was a question, will, Arcola, I believe it's yours in the chat. Will we know if the award is approved before we are sent a check?
Yes, because I think that's part of the process. When I upload the roster back to the institution, it will state final, and that will notify you that those particular students will receive payment.
We
that-
are, yeah, and we are in the process, it's almost completed. Our IT is having it so that when we download files, that you'll receive an email notification to know that something has been added to your account. And of course, we always welcome questions that you may have as you go along. Never hesitate to contact me or Arcola. Are there any other questions you may have? We'll be sending an email to everyone, including those who are not in the video or in the Zoom. Yeah, please call. That's good. That to make sure everyone has it, including the memo, because I did see a little typo I need to get corrected. As you call, it helps us to understand everything better too. So we do appreciate it. And we appreciate you working with us so patiently. Question, does the student have to sign a new signature page each semester? A student has to complete an application each semester. And the reason is, it is that validation of how many hours they completed and where they are towards earning a degree. It's as much of a check off for you as it is for us. So yes, each semester, because remember, the student can skip summer and not lose eligibility, but they cannot skip fall or spring. So you want to make sure you have a new batch for that student to show the ongoing process of the award. Welcome. Any other question? I don't want to cut anyone off before we don't answer your question. I want to make sure we do. Do keep in mind that the money was initially written to sunset in 2028. That's why you had the extended roster. However, things can happen through legislation changes, but it's better if you can get as many participants on the front end. So really push hard so maybe we can get more by the fall. Because we want you to have this money for your students. And we will be taking assessments off of each semester to make those decisions. Like I had said previously, we might perhaps increase the SIPs if we see we need that expansion to offer it to other students. And any other criteria that may be suggested, I already have a few today, so we'll take into consideration. All right, well, if you think, okay, can you please share a list? Yeah, I am gonna share that Jeff requested. I am gonna send that to everyone. I want to find a really good clean list. That's gonna be in a follow-up email that I'll be sending out along with the email. Yeah, I mean with the memo. Yes, you're welcome. I haven't forgotten. I do know I know some, we had in our inventory that the SIP was, you had graduation numbers, because remember we did 2015 to 2022 or 21. So some of you had SIPs previously that you no longer offer. So if there's a SIP sitting there in your choices that you don't offer, that's okay. Just let me know. We know we can revise that later. But if you're missing one that you do, make sure that I know that, because we want to get that added back. That could just be an easy oversight on our part. Okay. Well, if no one else has any other questions, we appreciate your time. And again, we hope to hear from you if you have any questions or any thoughts, suggestions. And we hope that you have a good rest of the day as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.